The boy screamed in pain, a steel rebar deeply stuck in his arm. Just now, he sneaked into an excavator, but his skills weren't enough and it flipped over. A passing firefighter spotted the scene while running and, out of habit, ran over to check. Seeing the boy trapped, he told him to protect his head, then smashed the glass with his elbow and yanked out the rebar. But the rebar pierced the artery. Blood sprayed from the boy's arm like a small fountain. The firefighter pressed hard on the artery to stop the bleeding and shouted for help. The place was so remote that there was no one nearby. Worse, the firefighter had left his phone in his car while running. The boy said his phone was in his backpack, several meters away. The firefighter told him to pinch the wound and run for the bag. When he got it, the phone was smashed to pieces. The boy felt hopeless.
Hey, oh, hey.
I'm sorry.
No. You're doing great.
Hang in there, stay tough for me.
A pickup truck drove by, but it was too far.
Hey, help! Over here!
He had to wake the boy again, make him pinch the artery, and rush after the pickup, but it was already gone.
Help! Hey, help! Hey!
When he returned, the boy was unconscious. Just when things couldn't get worse, a metal frame that had been stable fell. Hitting the firefighter's leg, this was bad. With little hope, he surprisingly found a long tail clamp.
Look at this.
His hands were finally free, but even by nightfall, no one had come. He tried to start the excavator but had no key. He only needed a screwdriver to connect 2 points, and the tool was on the console. He just wished his arms were longer, but after struggling all night, he still couldn't reach it. The boy was pale, with very weak vital signs. Luckily, he found a metal strip in a dictionary, started the excavator, and used the mechanical arm for support to adjust the vehicle. A friend who came looking saw this, and together they sent the boy to the hospital. Finally, seeing the boy pushed out safely, the firefighter breathed a huge sigh of relief. After a pierced artery for over a day and night, this boy is seriously tough. A man's hand was pierced by a metal pipe from a piece of gym equipment and pinned beneath the waitstack. Just now, his wife had called for help, saying her husband was in danger while working out. The firefighters followed her to the basement and saw the situation. The man was screaming in pain. After examining the situation, they realized the only way to free him was to cut the pipe. They quickly brought over a grinder and carefully lifted the waitstack. His wife asked whether they could simply pull the pipe out. The medic explained that removing it directly could cause severe bleeding. Only a surgeon should handle that. They needed to free him quickly and get him to the hospital. First, they gave him pain medication. The team secured the waitstack, put on safety goggles, began cutting the pipe. The man gritted his teeth in pain. Soon, the pipe was cut through and his hand was finally released. The medics immediately wrapped the wound with gauze and placed him on a stretcher. His wife couldn't stop complaining. It turned out he had bought all the equipment himself and put it in the basement. He never expected it would end up putting him in danger.
Now look where it got him.
Uncontrollable wind is a huge problem for firefighters. When the wind suddenly changes, the fire spreads quickly in the new direction.
Fire's jumping, Chief!
At that moment, paramedics were still treating a patient inside the neighboring building. Just now, the firefighters were putting out a fire when a woman ran out from the next building, saying her mother had collapsed from a heart attack.
There!
The paramedics went in to help her, while the firefighters continued battling the fire. Then, the wind suddenly changed direction.
That wind isn't good.
Flames burst outward and quickly ignited the windows of the neighboring building. The captain immediately ordered the paramedics to evacuate. The sudden fire caught them completely off guard. They quickly dragged the elderly woman into a room. The stairway was blocked by flames, leaving them trapped and forced to call for help. Even worse, the two buildings were so close together that the ladder truck could not fit between them. The firefighters placed a ladder across the gap between the buildings and climbed over to the other side. They first brought the fire under control, then evacuated everyone one by one across the ladder and carried the elderly woman out on a stretcher.
Casey, move! Now! Come on, Casey! Let's go!
Helmet!
Luckily, the firefighter was strong enough to hold on, but the wall was too smooth to get any grip. After struggling for quite a while, he finally managed to climb back up.
Okay. Okay.
A fire suddenly broke out at a laundromat. Firefighters quickly arrived at the scene. An employee rushed over and said her manager was still trapped inside. She also said the fire was caused by a dryer explosion. They immediately geared up and went inside to rescue him. After searching, they found the manager in a storage room. The fire outside kept getting bigger. One dryer was still running. They had a bad feeling about it. quickly helped their injured teammate up and got him outside. Fortunately, he was only slightly injured. The others continued fighting the fire. Soon, the flames were extinguished, and the manager was rescued safely. But the story did not end there. The next day, they received another fire call. On the way there, the fire truck suddenly lost control and nearly hit pedestrians. Luckily, the driver stopped in time. Because the truck had broken down, they had to carry their gear and run to the scene. When they arrived, another crew had already put out the fire. What surprised everyone was that it was another laundromat. The cause was exactly the same. 5 laundromats had caught fire in just 1 week, and the dryers were not actually the problem. After talking with the employees, they learned about a cheap batch of laundry detergent that had recently appeared on the market. They smelled it and immediately noticed something strange. The detergent likely contained flammable materials. It did not fully dissolve during washing, stayed on the clothes, exploded during drying. They immediately contacted the manufacturer and informed the manager, but she insisted the product met all safety standards. Seeing that she would not admit it, a firefighter lit a match and dropped it onto some detergent. The detergent burst into flames instantly. Faced with the evidence, the woman finally admitted they had recently changed suppliers. Everyone needed to be warned immediately. The investigation revealed that the supplier had mixed methanol into the product. They quickly notified all customers. But one delivery truck was still on the road. They rushed to intercept it. By the time they arrived, smoke was already pouring from the truck. The firefighters told the driver to evacuate immediately, but the driver thought it was only an exhaust problem. They thought they were transporting laundry detergent. In reality, they were hauling a moving bomb. The fire was quickly extinguished. If it had not been discovered in time, many more people could have been put in danger. How well does your heating work at home? In the middle of a brutal negative 30 degrees Celsius winter, a fire broke out in a 2.5-story building. Black smoke filled the air. Firefighters searched the building floor by floor and evacuated the residents. In one room, they found open flames burning and a woman unconscious beside a couch. They quickly carried her outside. The burning object in the corner was a barbecue grill. Most grills run on propane.
Everybody out! It's gonna blow!
Luckily, everyone got out in time and no one was hurt. When the woman regained consciousness, the captain warned her about the dangers of using a propane grill indoors. But then a neighbor spoke up.
Why'd you yell at her? She was just doing what she could to keep from freezing to death.
It turned out everyone in the building was a tenant. Their landlord refused to fix the heating system, so they had been forced to find their own ways to stay warm. The captain immediately confronted the landlord. He told him that failing to provide heat during winter was not only dangerous, but also illegal. The landlord tried to brush it off, but the captain warned him that if he could not provide heat for his tenants, fire inspectors would be all over his property, and the building department could fine him, costing him rental income. That scared the landlord straight. He immediately promised to fix the problem.
That landlord has never fixed a thing. My cupboard doors are broken, the faucet drips. But I came home to a warm apartment last night for the first time in months. Have a feeling you had something to do with it.
Yeah, I had a chat with him.